Oh my god, hi. Welcome to my May reading wrap-up. I'm gonna talk about all the books I read in May. Just like you'd expect. I'm not sure why I did this because I have a cold, dead heart, but I read a romance book and I gave it 5 stars. I genuinely loved it. It was called You Again. It follows these 2 characters. Who remembers the names of characters in books? It doesn't matter. The girl is a comedian and the guy is a chef. And they're actually dating the same girl when the book starts. So they kind of have this rivalry. The guy is just sort of like emo and brooding. The girl is really just chaotic. Your chaotic friend that you go to brunch with, showing up 45 minutes late. They have one shoe on. They always have a story. The girl, her name is Ari. Her name is Ari and his name is Josh. Oh my God, the information just came to me. So it follows them over about 10 years. Whenever they run into each other, they're very annoyed, finding some way to cause chaos in the other one's life. Whatever the opposite of a meet cute is, it's always a memorable meeting when they see each other. They just eventually develop this friendship based on kind of mutual hatred for the world and just really bond over being haters, which I love to see because sometimes you just need that. This very much feels like a Scorpio relationship. The whole time I was reading it, I was like, I need a birth chart. If we're talking tropes, it is an enemies to lovers, but it's not an enemies to lovers where they just treat each other like shit and just want to bone. They actually like each other's personalities, even if it's reluctant. The like reluctant attraction turning into yearning. That's some good stuff right there. And it's written very, very well and very, very funny. I took my time reading this because I didn't want it to end. I would say this is a romance for people who don't really like romance. Even though I really enjoyed it, I felt like it was not very likely that I would like 2 romances in a row. So I decided to pick something up that had more of a dark vibe. And if you want to read something dark, disturbing, and mentally ill, what else can you pick up other than an Ottessa Moshfegh book? Eileen, it's been sitting on my shelf for like a year now, to be honest, just staring at me because I read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by her and I genuinely loved it. But then I read Labvona and I fucking hated it. So I wasn't super eager to read more. I struggled to recommend this. It follows Eileen, Tula Lura. She works at a prison for boys. It follows her day-to-day at work, and then when she goes home and lives with her alcoholic, kind of abusive dad. It's just very bleak for Eileen. Like, Eileen doesn't have the best life, and she's not super thriving. If Letting Intrusive Thoughts Win were a book, it would be this one. You just listen to her ramble. I like when books are first person, but this was first person to a fault. I felt trapped in this woman's mind and I was banging on the walls and scratching at them trying to escape by the end of this. She just complains constantly. She hates herself. She judges everyone around her. She thinks weirdly sexual thoughts about everyone and talks about their nether regions. If I had to tell you how many times I read the words nether regions in this book, shout out to when she kept talking about herself and her caverns and folds. Oh my. She also described her bowel movements for a full page. I just skipped it. I was like, there's no way this is important to the plot. And I would say that kind of makes up a lot of this book. This was the first part of the book, and this could have been literally this long. Why did I keep reading this? I honestly wanted a DNF, but the one thing that kept me going in this book was the fact that it was told in an omniscient narration perspective from her in the future. As an old woman, she's talking about this thing that happened. So you know something is coming. Just sort of like dangles that in front of you like a little carrot and you just like keep going, hoping to get some action. And then you get it and it's like, ugh, I don't want that. I don't want that action. I originally gave this book 4 stars. I said in my Goodreads review, I'm gonna give this 4 stars, but I think it's because Eileen is in my walls and I feel so immersed with her that I feel compelled to give this a high rating. And I bumped it down to 3 stars. Now that I'm talking about it, I want to give it a 2 star. Nether regions, caverns and folds. Honestly, 1 star. 0 stars, negative stars. Come on, Eileen. Forget about Eileen. She's done. She's in the past. I don't want to think about her again. Here's a book that I really liked. It was called The Husbands. So, premise. This woman gets home. Her name is Lauren. And she goes to walk into her flat. They're in London. And Lauren gets to her flat. And when she walks in, she sees a strange man. He's not supposed to be there. She's a single girl. and he says, oh, hey, Lauren, like, welcome home, like a very not burglary, murdery way to greet someone. And she's like, what the fuck, like immediately on edge. Get out of my house, who are you? Please exit my flat. I'm sorry. He's like, what's wrong? Like, I don't understand, are you okay? Pulls up her phone to call 911, and her lock screen is a picture of her and this man, and they're smiling, and that's her husband. I haven't even said like the craziest part. That's already crazy enough. Why does she have this husband that she doesn't know? He literally is in her phone. She's reading text messages with him and her friends talking about him. He exists and she doesn't understand. So she's trying to grapple with that. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting premise for a book. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? That's not even the half of it. They're talking and she's trying to make sense of everything. And he has to go up to the attic for something. He goes in, he's in there for a second. And then instead of him coming back down the stairs, it's another man. And he's her husband too. And that guy doesn't exist anymore. And then she's confused and she's like, and he goes back up into the attic. And then another guy comes down. And just like an endless supply of husbands coming down this attic. They're just coming down the attic when they come. This book is for the people who read choose your own adventure stories and then go back and see how the other ones turned out. It explores every possible avenue and all different kinds of relationships. And it's very, very funny and very fast paced with it. The overall arching theme and the reason for the book is to be like a commentary on modern dating, like decision paralysis or like abundance of just endless options, not entertaining it at all, just like completely removing yourself from the narrative, not being on the apps or whatever, or being on them so excessively that you're never truly rooted in the relationship that you're in. And it explores that without being like preachy or in your face about it. Do I have the hiccups? Fuck. The ending wraps it up in a way that I was like, all right, ding, 5 stars, easy peasy. Just go in, have fun, audiobook it up, go on a walk, can't miss. You know those books that get really popular on BookTube and Book Talk, and you read them and you kind of feel like you're in on a secret? I'm talking about Bunny by Mona Awad. This is worth the read. This is the book. This is the one. If you're into dark academia, if you're into cults, if you're just a girl trying her best, you should read this book. Bunny follows our main character, Samantha, and she goes to school and she's in this very prestigious writing program. And the only other girls in that program with her are all in this little clique, and they call themselves the Bunnies. They call themselves the Bunnies and they call each other Bunny. Like literally when they see each other, they're like, oh my God, hey Bunny, Bunny, I love your shirt, Bunny, I love you girl, Bunny, Bunny. Oh, I love you, Bunny. I love you too, Bunny. In theory, it sounds very annoying. In practice, it like pulls you in. So she, at the beginning of the book, is like very much making fun of them and wants nothing to do with them. And then they invite her into their little circle and she becomes one of the bunnies. And that's as much as I can tell you, but you can't, you can't guess which direction this is gonna go. I had a one-of-a-kind reading experience with this book that I will never have again. It's one of those books you finish and you turn over and you start at page 1 again because you have to reread it and catch all of the things that you never could have guessed. You can keep guessing like what's going on. You're gonna be wrong every single time. If anyone actually guessed the ending or the middle or the beginning, I don't think they can. This is just one of a kind. It's one of a kind book. It's crazy. It's funny. It's satirical. It doesn't take itself as seriously as it seems. And it's a world I just could live in and laugh in and love in. It's so weird. Oh my God, it's so weird. I wish I could tell you more. Maybe I'll make a spoiler video because there's not a lot of spoiler videos on this. Oh boy, read it. Read it and weep. The hype is real, especially if you were a Hot Topic middle schooler, not like most girls. Ass bitch. I love this book. I love you, Bunny. The next book that I read, that was certainly a book. I read Big Swiss, and it's a big skip. Horrible book. Horrible joke for a horrible book. This book, the premise is there is a woman who gets a job as a transcriber for a therapist. The therapist is a sex therapist, and he is a narcissist, just annoying, awful character that I could not stand anything he said. The main character was awful, annoying, and I couldn't stand anything that she said. So the main character is listening to these recordings and transcribing them with the therapist's patients. And she's not supposed to know who they are, but apparently it's like a very small town. She becomes very obsessed with this one patient who she names Big Swiss because apparently in her description, she is tall and she's from Switzerland. Big Swiss is in therapy because she's never had an orgasm before. They end up meeting in person by chance. And the main character doesn't disclose to her that she has listened to her therapy sessions, and then they develop a friendship and eventually a romance. So you'd think that would be very interesting because one character has a secret and the other one doesn't know. And it's a pretty intimate secret. Like, she's still listening to her therapy sessions where Big Swiss will go and talk about the main character and the relationship that they're having. And you'd think that that would be interesting, right? But it just doesn't explore any of that. It doesn't have any kind of commentary on that. It's about absolutely nothing. It just fell flat. It was just dialogue back and forth, just the characters talking at each other. Bad storytelling, I feel, is the issue. I feel like I'm not even talking about this coherently because the book is so incoherent. It's making me incoherent. It's contagious. I gave it 1 star. I should have judged it by its cover because I fucking hate that cover too. I'm not talking about this anymore. I hardly talked about it now. I hope that made some sense. Don't read it. So I hated Big Swiss so much, and that was like a contemporary fiction. So I decided the next thing I needed to do in my reading journey was to leave this earth. I needed to not be in the world anymore. I needed to be among the creatures. So I picked up Serpent in the Wings of Night. I'm not immune to a good book talk recommendation. I gave it 4 stars. It's your classic death trial match. It's a mortal girl. That's who the main character is. And she enters this Hunger Games kind of competition. And all of her competitors are vampires. And she has to fight them off. And also she has an ally with one of the vampires. Like, is this going to be the love interest? But it's really not as romancy as you would think. It's mostly violence. It's mostly violence and carnage. I had a great time. It's really, really lit. Like, there's no page in this book where I was not entertained. It was paced very, very well. And the world building is very easy to follow. It's kind of like brain off, be entertained, hee hee ha ha, a formula that works, and the author is fantastic. Since it is a fantasy, there are some like random things that we don't know because it's its own language, and it has a glossary in the back, which I love. Not all fantasies do that. There's a map in the front, glossary in the back, map in the front, glossary in the back. That's what I like to see. Also, something really interesting about this death match is that they don't know when it's gonna start. You just get teleported there. They could be chilling, eating soup and lentils, and suddenly you're in the death match. I won't tell you when it starts, but I thought that was a really exciting element and something that I hadn't seen before. The vampires have wings, and when they're spiced, the wings are not involved. It's like the Cruel Prince when the Fae have a tail and the tail is involved. So I don't want the animal parts to be included in the spice. It's not in this one. I just feel like I just give that warning. The opposite of a trigger warning. No wings in the bedroom. No wings in the bedroom. No tails in the bedroom. No claws in the bedroom. And certainly no hooves. Certainly no hooves. This one got me enough to want to continue the series, but I feel like if you wanted to, you could just read this one. It did get me out of this earth and made me forget about books that I did not enjoy. Anyway, that's it. That's all of them. 3 5 stars, 1 4 star, and 2 1 stars. Very well-rounded month. They all made me feel something, and that's what we want. That's what we're craving, and that's why we do what we do. Thanks for watching. That's it. That's everything. I don't have anything else to talk about. Thanks for watching Kelsie's Readsies, and I'll see you on the next Readsie. Bye.